Hello and welcome back to another episode of a Cozy Christmas Podcast. Fall weather hopefully is on its way. Crisp nights and cool mornings. The leaves will be changing colors. And we will be really just a month away before the craziness of Christmas in November and December comes upon us. And so I am hoping to offer you today a chance, an opportunity to celebrate the season, to rest and relax and hear a pretty fun ghost story. Our story today is called St. Hugo's Prayer. It centers on two ghosts, Hugo and his wife, who haunt their family castle. And they observe a young woman who has two men interested in marrying her. One is a good guy, one's the not so good guy. And for some reason, probably because women didn't have as much agency back in the late 1890s, the two men are going to have a bicycle race, and the winner will get to marry the girl. But there are a couple references in the story I wanted to point out. And first of all, the bicycle being seen as kind of a new piece of equipment and technology. When the bike was invented, many people were immediately suspicious about such thing, and that how shocking it would be to be able to transport oneself long distances in a quicker amount of time than walking. And I've read that some were concerned that this would encourage teenagers to go off on their own and be able to get farther away than they might be able to through walking. And you know what happens when teenagers get together. Anyway, that I found to be an interesting aspect to this story. But also, Sir Hugo makes mention of Sir Worcestershire, Saint Wenceslas. We all have heard of him in the Christmas Carol. Good King Wenceslas went out on the Feast of Stephen. So that got me thinking, who is this man? What was he all about? According to Britannica.com, it says that he was raised a Christian by his grandmother, Saint Ludmilla, but his ambitious mother, Dragomir, was a pagan. She had Saint Wenceslas's grandmother murdered and acted as regent herself until Wenceslas came of age in 924-25. Her court intrigues and the wishes of the people to end the conflicts between Christian and non-Christian factions in Bohemia led Wenceslas to take the reins of government. As Duke, he was pious, reportedly taking a vow of virginity, and encouraged the work of German missionary priests in the Christianization of Bohemia. His zeal in spreading Christianity, however, antagonized his non-Christian opponents. Just in 929, Wenceslas was assassinated, and there are reports that miracles occurred at his tomb, so his remains were sent to Prague, and it became a great pilgrimage site. I did also see online that St. Wenceslas Day is September 28th, and then the Feast of Stephen is on December 26th, I believe. What's interesting is the connection that Wenceslas then has with Stephen in the fact that they were both martyred. And of course, the song talks about, how he was a good man and went out to help feed up the poor and all that. So a little bit of Christmas trivia for you there. I can't really share more than that, as I'm not that familiar with Catholic saints and all that. Maybe I should have had some help with this episode. The story again is called Sir Hugo's Prayer. It was first published in the Hampshire Telegraph on December 25th, 1897. It was written by G.B. Burgin. Who was a journalist and author who lived from 1856 to 1944. I thought as we head into October, it'd be great to read some ghost stories, the kind that they would read around the fire at Christmas time, but I thought we'd start off on a funny note. All right, enough waffling from me. Let's get to our story. I invite you to come in here by the Christmas fire. Make yourself at home. And I read to you Sir Hugo's Prayer by G.B. Burgin. For invisible to thee, spirits twain have crossed with me. 1. There's no real pleasure in being a ghost nowadays, or nights either, grumbled the shadowy presentment of Sir Hugo Follett as he clanked along the battlements of Dulverton Castle, his imperceptible sword slanting ruthlessly through Lady Follett's invisible legs. Lady Follett apparently resented being amputated at her visionary knees in this unceremonious way. "Fie, Sir Hugo," she said testily. "Marry, come up. Wilt thou remember that, although only a ghost, I can still feel?" Sir Hugo halted on the battlements with a shiver, for the night was cold and he lacked flesh wherewith to clothe his bones. "The truth is, my dear," he said irresolutely, "it is no use talking in this stilted and archaic fashion any longer. We must adapt ourselves to the times and model our language accordingly. Although we have been the terror of this place for centuries, no one cares a button for us now. Only one consolation is that we are mentioned with pride in the advertisement when Follett wants to let the place for the season. I flatter myself, however, that we have always performed our purgatorial duties with punctuality and dispatch." "Quite so, quite so." "Well, what happens?" Oh, nothing happens," sighed Lady Follett. "In fact, Hugo, we are becoming exceedingly dull. There's no doubt whatever about that." "And the latest outrage? What do you think's the latest outrage we have to put up with?" bitterly demanded Sir Hugo. "There are so many," deplored his shadowy spouse, laying a ghostly mitten upon his phantom arm. "Well, the one consolation we had in our midnight promenade was that we could warm ourselves at the beacon cresset on the battlements here. Now, that economical old hunks, Follett, has cut off the beacon coals and substituted something which he calls electric light. It doesn't give any warmth at all, and one needs warmth after dozing all day in the family vault. Shameful lack of consideration for us, I call it. I've a good mind to rub you all over with corpse light, and plant you at the top of Follett's staircase with blue snakes waggling about in your eye sockets. That would give him a paralytic seizure if anything could." Lady Follett, who had been the handsomest woman of her day, bitterly resented Sir Hugo's proposed additions to her toilette. "You never think of appearances," she said crossly. "The indelicacy of facing people in one's bones doesn't seem to have occurred to you. Besides, one would look so meagre." "There would be quite enough of you to give him a scare," chuckled Sir Hugo. "It's about time you got over the fad of appearing in family costume only. When I look at Follett's guests, you seem quite out of fashion." "At least I hide my bones. Most of his guests don't," tartly retorted the lady. "They all wear as little as possible." "It's their love of naked truth," airily suggested Sir Hugo. "Naked fiddlesticks!" Lady Follett's mood suddenly changed. She began to weep. "And yet they are alive. Oh, to be alive again, to feel the warmth of the dear sun, to rise at cock-crow instead of going to bed at it in a badly ventilated vault. Oh, for the touch of a warm living hand, to feel baby lips upon my own, to live again upon the sweet earth." And ghostly tears fell from her sightless eyes. "I wouldn't if I were you," gruffly suggested Sir Hugo. "We had a good time of it when we were alive, and ruffled it with the best. Some day we'll get out of this purgatorial stage and give old Follett a turn. The unconscionable dog. It's ridiculous your wanting to be alive again. You'd have to go to school and learn to read and write. I don't think I should mind that much. If it came to sampler work, I've flat. Sir Hugo laid a phantom hand upon a phantom arm. My dear, from what I gather, when the young people come up here to flirt o' nights, your sampler making would be as much out of date as my chain armor. One would be consigned to the lumber room, the other sold for scrap iron, and yet, with a little polishing, we should still be a fairly presentable couple. He ruffled along with a gallant air in the moonlight. God, but I'd pledge you in a bumper of sack had I the wherewithal to hold it, he said mournfully. Why so important a thing as a stomach should be let out of a ghost's anatomy, I know not. Hush, here's someone coming. Lady Follett adjusted her imaginary headgear. It is the damsel they call Claire, she said in a frigid whisper. The minx has come up here to flirt. Sir Hugo was interested. Well, she's devilish Hugo! I beg your pardon. Oh, it's nothing. But Lady Follett's icy tone sent a shiver down Sir Hugo's spinal cord. I didn't say anything. My teeth merely chattered. Even a ghost has feelings? Acidly declared Lady Follett. To hear you admire mere flesh and blood, like that red and white forward chit of a child, is more than I can endure. A mistake, I assure you. Take my arm. We'll continue our promenade. They strolled leisurely along the broad level walk, Sir Hugo endeavoring to restrain his curiosity as to what Claire Follett was doing up there in the moonlight. Let us get behind this chimney stack and see what's going on, he suggested. She appears to be dragging a kind of double wheel with her. Oh, she also appears to be dragging a young man after the wheel, suggested Lady Follett, cautiously peeping from behind the sheltering chimney stack and quite forgetting that she was invisible until the midnight hour chimed from the castle tower. There's another man with more wheels, said Sir Hugo. They surely can't be going to start a carriage factory up here. The things are called bicycles, said Lady Follett. What's a bicycle? Inquired Sir Hugo, resenting his wife's superior knowledge. Shh! Here they come. 2. Claire Follett was very pretty indeed. But what was she doing at the top of Dulverton Castle, half an hour before midnight on Christmas Eve, accompanied by 2 young men whose ill-concealed hatred of each other appeared to afford her a good deal of amusement? That this amusement was not wholly untinctured by anxiety was evident to Sir Hugo, for that ancient warrior, keenly versed in all matters pertaining to the sex, noticed that a tear glistened on her long lashes. At first it seemed to him that this might be the result of the cold air, but when he saw Claire Follett furtively wipe away a tear from her other eye and look appealingly round, his hand flew to his sword. He regretted bitterly that Lady Follett was there to check his chivalrous impulses, and that he could only look on inertly at this strange spectacle. Miss Follett wore a very short cloth skirt and dainty little cap, whilst the young men were clad in knickerbockers. The lights of their bicycles twinkled like glowworms, and their eyes glared malevolently at one another. As far as Sir Hugo could judge, the dark fellow looked like a hero. The fair man had a shifty expression with cold, thin lips. His legs were enormous, his body thin and tough as an alligator's. He swung his arms to and fro in a leisurely manner, as if utterly unconcerned. The other young man, whose legs were not nearly as big, appeared rather more anxious. He bit at his long mustache and swore softly under his breath, in a way which gladdened the heart of that old reprobate, Sir Hugo. It was a long time since he had heard anyone swear. There's something up, my dear, Sir Hugo remarked to Lady Follett. It looks to me as if these fellows are in love with the girl, and there's going to be a row over it. They will settle their differences with the sword. Oh, no, they won't, Lady Follett declared. Not they. Not one knows how to use a sword nowadays. I rather like that fair young fellow. My dear, he looks like the biggest villain unhung. My sympathies are all with the dark man. He has such a frank, honest expression. In fact, he's rather like what I was at his age. Lady Follett gave a little groan, which reached the group of bicyclists and made them stir uneasily. She was thinking of the time when young men had made their court to her. Of a verity, it was dull work being a ghost. Oh, the dear earth and the joy of it. Beastly owls about somewhere, said the fair man. Might a get 'em to umpire, don't you know, Miss Follett, and we'd catch 'em some beastly mice for their Christmas dinner. The girl looked at him fixedly, and not with favor. I was made to consent to such a strange scheme, she said hesitatingly. What made you propose it, Mr. Fairfax? The fair man grinned in a way which showed his white teeth right up to the gum. Well, you see, Miss Follett, Pennell is such a scorcher, and he thinks he can do everything, so I lured him on to make the proposal. Now that you've agreed to it, I'll have him on toast. Cannibal, said Sir Hugo. In my day we killed a rival. We didn't eat him on toast. Hush, hush, you misunderstand. Listen. Oh, shut up, Fairfax, said the dark man, who was kneeling by the side of his bicycle and pumping at the tire. You haven't won yet. Not yet, said Fairfax cheerfully. Oh, no, not yet. This little idea occurred to me several days ago, and I've been training hard ever since. I'm fit to run for my life. Shouldn't think it's the first time either, said the other, willfully misunderstanding him. I'll ask some of the men of your regiment next time I'm in town. Miss Follett gave an impetuous little stamp of her foot. I've a great mind to go downstairs and end this nonsense at once. I don't think I would do it if I were you, suggested Fairfax with a nasty sneer. People would say you were afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of my winning. You haven't won yet, said Pennell. Now, Miss Follett, here's your bike all ready. You're to have 30 yards start around the battlements, and whoever catches you first is to win you for life. Miss Follett looked anxiously at his legs and drew him aside. Do you feel up to it? She asked. He's evidently been training. You know how late you sat up with Papa last night. That must have told on you. I wanted to win his heart, although I despaired about yours, said Pennell hastily. Miss Follett. Claire. The brute can't see us. He's messing about with his lamp. Give me one kiss, and I'll ride his head off or perish in the attempt. Oh, the little dear, said Sir Hugo in rapture. She's the love. What's that? Acidly demanded Lady Follett. My dear, this girl's got your blood in her veins, and may I materialize if I don't help her to marry the dark young fellow. You may remember, said the poor, chivalrous old ghost, I was dark once, my lady, and you were just like this girl, only lovelier, and with a statelier way. Gadzooks, I no more dare to kiss you. Don't, Hugo, wailed the other poor ghost. What can we do to help her? 3. Are you ready? Asked Fairfax with his customary sneer. It's a mere matter of form, of course, unless Pennell would like to resign at... Shut up, said Pennell. Now, Miss Follett, let me hold your bike. Be careful of the turn where the wall has crumbled a bit. Goodbye. Let us say au revoir. Can you forgive me for being so utterly foolish? Of course I can. If the beast should win, I'll never forget you. Don't let us be all night about a mere trifle of this kind, said Fairfax with ironic emphasis. No, by the bones of my patron St. Wenceslas, growled Sir Hugo, I'll spit that churl through the midriff. It's no good, said Lady Follett, beginning to weep ghostly tears as big as beans. "If you do stick your sword in him, it will only come out on the other side." "They're off," said Sir Hugo, gnashing his fleshless gums together. "That girl will be over the battlements if she isn't careful." "She sits on those little wheels and glides along like a bird," said Lady Follett. "Methinks a palfrey were more seemly." "I'd like to see anyone get a horse up the turret stairs," snorted Sir Hugo. "Let's go to the gap and see how they're getting on. The girl daren't look around. She doesn't know which is the nearer." Lady Follett began to breathe hoarsely as the wind rushed through her spectral ribs. "Don't," said Sir Hugo somewhat roughly. "Have you no sense of decorum?" I can't help it," sobbed Lady Follett. "That long-legged fair man is creeping in advance of the other. Look at his teeth in the moonlight." "I don't want to look at his teeth," growled Sir Hugo. "I want to smash his skull in with a battle-axe." "Hugo," said Lady Follett suddenly, as Miss Follett flew round, Fairfax 15 yards behind her. I can't help it. At the risk of being thought unladylike, I'm going to interfere." "What's the good of interfering? We can't do anything. That dark fellow's getting pumped. No wonder if he sat up half the last night listening to old Follett's stories. It would put anyone at a disadvantage. It isn't fair, I say. Silly young ass. He'll lose the girl. Bravo, he's spurting like one. I mean, he's gaining a little." Lady Follett groaned. "Oh no, he's falling behind again. The girl is tired. Hugo, at the risk of incurring your displeasure, I'm going to interfere." She waited until Fairfax rushed by, sprang lightly on the step of the bicycle, and began to blow with chilly emphasis right down his spine. A deadly chill shot through Fairfax. He faltered, then continued to hold the bar of his bicycle with one hand, and turned up his coat collar. Lady Follett dropped off with a groan. "I've disgraced myself by catching hold of a strange man," she whispered, "and he's going faster than ever." "Now it's my turn," growled Sir Hugo. "Another 5 seconds and we shall be too late. Holy St. Wenceslas, I've always behaved myself as a ghost since you sent me to purgatory to expiate my sins. I know I was a tolerably bad lot when alive, but I've never done anything since. Think of the draughty, moldy time I've had all these years. Let me materialize just for 10 seconds. That's all I ask. 10 seconds. Holy St. Wenceslas, the patron saint of all true lovers, was moved to pity by Sir Hugo's prayer. "So be it," a voice said softly, as Pennell plodded by, with aching calves and a desperate look in his dark eyes. "So be it, but it means an extra 100 years of this." The knight groaned. "Oh, very well. I'm not going to see her marry that beast," he said. "My dear, do you consent? Another 100 years? Think of the misery of it, the dull, damp, moldy misery of it. Quick, or I shall be too late. The girl's nearly pumped." "I consent," said Lady Follett. "Rather than that dear girl should be sacrificed to this Fairfax man, I'd marry him myself." Sir Hugo pressed her fleshless hand. "Move on a bit, my dear, and give me room," he said tenderly. Miss Follett dashed by with a strained, anxious look in her eyes. The victorious Fairfax was within 10 yards of her, Pennell a long way behind. Suddenly a giant grisly form, clad in a rusty armor and holding a long 2-handed sword, stepped from behind the chimney stack as Miss Follett dashed round, put the 2-handed sword between the wheels of Fairfax's bicycle, and heaved it over the battlements. Then it stepped back, and the victorious Pennell, panting up behind, laid his hand upon Claire Follett's shoulder. An oath sounded a few feet below from the gnarled and clustered ivy which spread over the scanty treetops. Then a head gradually appeared above the battlement, and Fairfax climbed up, grinning with rage. "You hired that brute to upset me," he shouted at Pennell. "I'll be even with you some day." "What brute?" asked Pennell. "There's no one here." "I distinctly saw a tall man in armor come from behind that chimney stack and upset me with his infernal sword." They rushed to the chimney stack, but there was no one there. Claire gave a little shriek of delight. "It must have been dear Sir Hugo's ghost. The battlements belong to him. Dear, dear Sir Hugo." Sir Hugo offered his arm to Lady Follett and strutted round the battlements with a smile upon his grim lips. She said, "Dear Sir Hugo." "Then it must have been his hag of a wife who blew down my throat and paralyzed me," said Fairfax with a scowl. "If you insult the memory of that lady, I'll throw you right over the battlements," said Pennell hotly. "So beautiful a woman as she was when alive must be exquisite, even as a ghost. Heaven rest the souls of both of them and give them peace." Hugo, where are you? I'm going," cried Lady Follett. "I am with you," said a tender voice in his ear. "Holy Saint Wenceslas has heard our prayer." The end. Well, that was a fun story, wasn't it? It was sure fun to read. I like the ending. It's a little sweet and sentimental. I imagine Sir Hugo and his wife have finally been released from purgatory and haunting of the castle and can now rest, knowing that their future descendants are in good hands. Well, I would love to hear from you today. Do you have a Christmas story or a thought or a memory you'd like to share with the audience? You can email me at cozychristmaspodcast@gmail.com. Also, Gracie and I are continuing to look for questions and topics to discuss. So if you had any thoughts or questions or topics you'd like to hear us discuss in an upcoming episode, not too late, send me an email and we'll get something recorded for you. So with that, I want to thank you for those of you who have shared the podcast, helped build up the community to what it is today. I appreciate it so much. The best thing you can do is give this a like or a subscribe or share it on your social medias, leave a review. And I have it on good authority. If you leave me a 5-star review, Santa will put you on his nice list this year automatically. All right, I might have to get that confirmed yet. There's also some links in the show notes if you're interested in helping us out in a financial way. That's never expected, but it's always appreciated. You can find the links down below, and I'd be happy to send you a Christmas card, a bookmark, and sticker. So with that, thank you for listening. Happy October, and let us remember to honor Christmas in our hearts and try to keep it all the year. Have a very Merry Christmas.